Hi, welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius. Today, what we're going to tackle in this tactics episode is psychic powers and the psychic phase, and how they relate to Kill Team and how you can use them to your maximum advantage. We'll do this in a number of ways. First, we'll look at the rules for psychic powers and use in Kill Team. Then we're going to look at who can use these psychic powers, so which teams have them available. And I want you to keep in mind as we do this episode that we're only talking about non-commanders. Okay, and we're only going to use the psybolt ability as an example. Most others are for commanders. We won't be covering that today. This is really for competitive play and just normal non-commander play. So sorry for anyone there that's into that sort of, thematic sort of stuff. But that's what we do. And we're also going to look into the psychic tactics that are available to some of the teams, and some of them might surprise you, and you might have overlooked them in the past and you think, oh, well, that's pretty cool. A couple were introduced with the annuals release. So we'll go through everyone we can. And then I'm going to rank the psychic teams how I see them. So if obviously if you don't agree with that, let's have a talk about it below, because it's a pretty interesting topic. A lot of people don't really know much about psychic. They probably just think, oh, Grey Knights can psybolt me twice a turn or something like that. But there's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more teams that you may not have considered that can use psychic powers. So let's get started. Now, the first thing you're going to need to know about manifesting psychic powers within Kill Team and how to use them is the actual rules as written themselves. Researched by me, delivered to you fine people out there on YouTube. So, first thing you're going to need is a model that can manifest a psybolt. Now, not all teams can use this, and we'll go through the ones that can coming up after this segment. But for now, a model that can manifest a psybolt is the one that you want to use. Now, some teams are limited to using one psybolt ability per turn, others two. You can also get icons that can give you a chance of getting additional psybolt abilities. So, with all that in mind, let's continue. Next thing you're going to need is a target. So the standard range of a psybolt is 18. Again, there's going to be some modifiers on this depending on the kill team that you have. So after you've got a target, it is within line of sight also. It can be obscured, but just in line of sight. So you're going to want to manifest a psychic test. So standard psychic test is rolled on a 2d6, with the target for this test being a 5+ for a standard psychic bolt. But this can change to a 4+ if you're a Grey Knight, as of the Elite's rules update. So your target's within 18, you've manifested your psybolt. Normally you would now do your 1 mortal wound. There are a couple of things that we need to talk about before that step. So on a roll of 11+, your psychic test, what you'll be doing is D3 mortal wounds to the target. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, on a roll of double 1s or double 6s, what happens is you initiate something called Perils of the Warp. Now, Perils of the Warp actually damages the Psyker for D3 mortal wounds. It also damages all models within 3 inches of it with D3 mortal wounds, so they all suffer the same fate. So, a couple of things to remember here is if the Psyker is taken out of action as a result of Perils of the Warp, then no damage is applied to the target, even if they succeeded on a double 6. But if the Psyker survives these Perils of the Warp, the damage is still transferred onto the target. Keep that in mind. It's a very important step to remember. A lot of people forget that one. Okay, another thing to remember here is if you're using the Servants of the Abyss kill team, Perils of the Warp is initiated on any double dice roll that you make. So that could be a double 2, a double 4, etc. Now, the only thing that changes there is that Servants of the Abyss also can reroll 1s to try and offset this. But again, you're taking a chance. You have a much higher probability of getting Perils of the Warp if you're a Servants of the Abyss rogue psyker. So, the next step is to make a Deny the Witch test if the target player has any Psyker models available within their team. Now these Psyker models have to be within 24 inches of the model that's attempting the psybolt. Now to make this test, an enemy Psyker has to roll 2d6. Now the target that they're aiming for is higher than the original psychic test that was taken to manifest the psybolt in the first place. So if that test was, say they rolled 6, you're going to need a 7 to be able to diffuse that psybolt power. Another thing to remember here is that some of the teams can attempt different amounts of deny the witch test, just like they can with actually manifesting the psybolt in the first place. So look at your faction rules to know how many you can attempt to turn. The only real things that change here is that some teams have tactics, or they have abilities that enable them to try and diffuse manifested psychic powers. But we'll go through them in the tactics section, or their individual faction section coming up in a second. The Adeptus Sororitas, for example, can try and diffuse or deny the witch on a roll of d6, which means that they don't have a very big chance of doing it. But say that the manifestation dice roll was quite low, from like 5 or 6, then they do actually get a chance to try and stop that. But it's going to be a rare day. But it's a power that they have, and it's a differentiating factor between other kill teams. The final step in the psychic phase is to resolve the power itself. Now before we start this, there's one thing that can stop this dead in its tracks, and this is the phase that you want to use it in. So in resolving the power, what you want to look at is any target models that are able to save any injury wound rolls. Now, a good one that comes to mind straight away is Disgustingly Resilient, which the Death Guard have. If they have this, then now's the time that they can try and stop. So this is resolved just like any other wound they would take, where they would roll a d6, and on a 5-6 they would save, and that would stop this psychic damage from occurring in the first place. So if this has happened, then that's the end of the psychic attack. If it doesn't, then the wound will go through. Okay, so if the wound goes through, what you need to understand now is that it is resolved pretty much just like any other wound that you would take within this game. It's a d6 dice roll on the injury table. So normally, with no modifiers, say they weren't there, what you'd be doing is you'd be taking out the target on a roll of 4 to 6, and on a roll of 1 to 3, they'd be receiving a flesh wound, just as normal. But there are a couple of little modifiers here that I'll go through. First one being, if the target is obscured or they have intervening terrain, then it's a -1 to this roll, just as usual. Also, if the target has 1 or more flesh wounds, then they'll be receiving a +1 to this roll per flesh wound, just as usual. Now, another thing you need to keep in mind when resolving damage is if you were attacking a multiple wound target, say they have 3 wounds and you do 1, then obviously they're not taking a flesh wound, you're not rolling on the injury table, they're just taking a point of damage to their model. Now when this model is reduced to 0 wounds from this attack, then obviously then we go on to this mortal wound step, just as usual. Now the last word on this is just keep in mind if you rolled the perils of the warp, that'll affect this wound roll differently, and keep in mind if you rolled an 11+, as we discussed previously, because this will affect the wounds differently as well. But otherwise, this is how you resolve a psychic power within Kill Team. Take it from start to finish. In this part, in no particular order, what we're going to do is go through the actual teams within Kill Team that can use psychic abilities, non-commander, as I've stated before. Okay, so the first team we're going to look at is the Thousand Suns. Now the Thousand Suns have 2 models within their Kill Team that are able to manifest the psybolt ability. This being the Aspiring Sorcerer, who's a Rubric Marine, and the Scarab Occult Terminator Sorcerer. So all other models within this Kill Team can't manifest psybolt, just these 2, and that's an important thing to remember because some of the other teams, all models can use it, but these guys, you need either 1 or 2 of these models. Obviously, the Scarab Occult Sorcerer is very expensive, so it's not one you're going to take all the time unless you're sort of competing in 125 point games, you know what I mean, competitions. Otherwise, you're probably only going to have the one. But one good thing with the Thousand Suns is they get the +3 to their range of their psychic powers through Brotherhood of Sorcerers ability, which came out in Elites. They also get access, this is Rubric Marines, also get access to one Icon of Flame. Now the Icon of Flame, every psychic phase, you can make a D6 roll basically. On a 6, that icon will manifest a psybolt ability. But it will be limited to 12-inch range instead of the normal range. Now this is an excellent option because on a Rubric Marine it's only 1 point upgrade, which is crazy. Much better than the Demon one that's available. But I really, strongly recommend taking that. So I mean, if you had both these models and you had the icon, you've got a potential of 3 psybolts a turn, which is very strong. The Thousand Suns also have 2 individual tactics, which we'll go through in a second, available to them, which affect psychic powers. The next psychic team to talk about is the Chaos Demons. Now, Chaos Demons can manifest 1 psybolt per turn from any of their horror models. So this includes the pink, the blue, and the brimstones, and all of the other variants of them. Now, this is super strong because anyone that plays demons knows that for each pink demon that you have, there's 5 models that you've got to kill to totally destroy that. So this means that actually removing the enemy Psyker away from a demon team if they've got pink horrors is near impossible, especially if they've got any more than 1. I mean, even with 2 horrors, like 2 pink horrors you start the game with, you're going to have to kill 10 models just to deny your opponent from manifesting a psybolt each turn. So this is a great endurance psybolt team. Like, they've always got one basically. So very cool. The other thing with demons is they can get access to the Icon of Tzeentch. So the Icon of Tzeentch is very similar to the Icon of Flame that we mentioned previously. And in the psychic phase, you roll a d6. On a 6, you manifest another psybolt ability with a 12-inch range. Again, this makes the demons just a little bit stronger with that potential for those turns during the game to be able to manifest this, but it does only come from the Icon Bearer. And the Icon Bearer can be lost quite easy. As you know, the horrors don't get injury rolls, they just pop if they fail their invulnerability. So just keep that in mind. Probably the best known psychic team in Kill Team currently is the Grey Knights, and we're going to go through those now. Now the Grey Knights, all models are psychics. That's every single one of them has psychic potential. Now each turn the Grey Knights can use 2 psybolts. So this makes the Grey Knights particularly strong, as they're guaranteed of those 2 psybolts, and these psybolts can come from any 2 models as well, which is even better again. So, as previously discussed, these are manifested on a 4+ due to their Brotherhood of Psykers ability they received in the Elites upgrade. One thing is their psybolts manifest on a 12-inch range, which is a little bit shorter than normal. They also do D3 mortal wounds to demon models, and that's always. So they don't have to get the 11+ to do that, they just do that if they succeed, which is very strong against demon teams. Well, they are demon hunters, so it's very thematic, and it goes with it, I guess. Also, they have 3 tactics available to them as a team, which are psychic. Another team known for its psychic ability, probably less played than some of these other ones I've mentioned, but it's good all the same, is the Servants of the Abyss. Now the Servants of the Abyss have access to 2 rogue psychers, and these are the only models within their kill team that can manifest psychic powers, but that gives you 2 psybolts if you're using 2 models. We've already talked about this Perils of the Warp, where they roll any double and they induce Perils of the Warp, which is quite dangerous. They can re-roll 1s on all psychic tests, which is good, can help sort of negate that. As I said before, it's quite a high chance of them getting taken out. But there is another thing that they have which other psychics don't have, and that's that they have 4 wounds, which means that they may have a chance of surviving 2 perils of the warp if they're not injured by other characters. So this makes them a little bit more durable, and makes it so even if they are rolling those doubles, they're surviving those generally if they're uninjured, as it is. And Servants of the Abyss also have access to 1 unique psychic tactic. There are 2 other teams which have honourable mentions as psychic teams, even though they can't manifest psychic abilities themselves. And those are the Adeptus Custodes and the Adeptus Sororitas. So as far as the Adeptus Custodes go, basically any psybolt or psychic ability that goes through against them, they can diffuse or deny on a roll of 6 on a d6 roll. That's all of them, which is pretty strong. And they also have 1 unique tactic that they can use to resist psychic powers even further. The Adeptus Sororitas, on the other hand, we briefly discussed, all have the Shield of Faith ability, which gives them a d6 Deny the Witch. As I said before, not very strong, but if the success ability of the manifestation of the psybolt was low, then they do have that single chance of trying to deny it in that instance. Now, let's have a look at the tactics available to kill teams. The first one we're going to look at is the Thousand Suns, who have 2 unique psychic tactics available to them. The first being Sorcerous Focus. This costs 2 command points and reads as such. Pick a Psyker model from your kill team that is within 2 inch of at least 2 other models from your kill team. Add 6 inch to the range of this model's psybolt psychic power until the end of the phase. Second power they have is called Power of the Cabal. Use this tactic when a model from your kill team attempts to manifest a psychic power. Before taking the psychic test, add 1 to the result of that psychic test for each friendly model other than shaken models within 3 inch of the model attempting to manifest the psychic power. This costs 2 command points. The Grey Knight's kill team has access to 3 unique psychic tactics, and they are as follows. Psychic Channeling costs 2 command points. Use this tactic when taking a psychic test for a model from your kill team. Roll 3 dice rather than 2 and use the 2 highest scores. Psychic Communion, which costs 2 points. Use this tactic when a model from your kill team attempts to manifest a psychic power. Before taking the psychic test, add 1 to the result of that psychic test for each friendly model other than shaken models within 3 inches of the model attempting to manifest the psychic power. 2 command points. Rites of Exorcism. Use this tactic before a model from your kill team takes a Deny the Witch test. If that Deny the Witch test is successful, Psyker that attempted to manifest a negated power suffers 1 mortal wound. This is 2 command points. The Servants of the Abyss have access to 1 psychic tactic, and it is as follows. Blackstone Trinket. Use this tactic when an enemy Psyker successfully manifests a psychic power within 6 inches of a Servants of the Abyss model from your kill team. That's any model. Roll a d6. On a 4+, that psychic power has no effect. This costs 2 command points. The Adeptus Custodes have access to 1 psychic tactic. It is called Spark of Divinity. Use this tactic when an enemy Psyker manifests a psychic power within 12 inches of a model from your kill team that is not shaken. You can take the Deny the Witch test for that model as if it were a Psyker. The Heretic Astartes kill team have access to 1 psychic tactic. It is called Demonic Attack. Use this tactic when an enemy model suffers perils of the warp. Instead of rolling a d3 to determine the number of mortal wounds suffered, they instead suffer 3 mortal wounds. This costs 3 command points. The Genestealer cults have access to 1 psychic tactic. It is called Strength of Faith. Use this tactic when a model from your kill team suffers a mortal wound in the psychic phase. Roll a d6 for that mortal wound, and each other mortal wound suffered by that model until the end of the phase. On a roll of 5+, that wound is ignored and has no effect. This costs 1 command point. Just for a little bit of fun, I thought it'd be a cool thing to rank the psychic teams available in Kill Team in order of how radical they are, I guess. So I am going to include those 2 honorable mentions just to make it a bit more interesting. So that'll give us a total of 6 teams that can have something to do with psychic, right? Besides the ones that just have a tactic or here and there. I haven't included those. So at number 6, what we have is the Adeptus Sororitas. I mentioned this one before. The Shield of Faith ability to try and deny the witch, pretty weak. So I've put them in at last place here. Coming in at number 5, I have the Adeptus Custodes. Now, they can ignore a psybolt directed at them on a roll of 6, and all of them can do that, so that makes them pretty strong. Plus they have the 1 tactic as well to help deny again, which is makes it even cooler. So they're at number 5. Coming in at number 4, what I have is the Servants of the Abyss. Now this was a tough one between Demons and Servants of the Abyss, but I put Servants of the Abyss here. Now remember, they can have the 2 Rogue Psykers, so that's 2 Psybolts a turn, 2 Deny the Witches a turn, which is strong. 4 Wound Psykers, they've got a unique tactic, but at perils of the warp on any double roll really tracks a little bit from them. Even though they have the wounds to be able to take them, they also are quite expensive models at 20 points each. There's 40 points of a kill team, which would be these 2 Rogue Psykers, so I think I've placed them a little bit lower because of that. And that's what brings us to the Demons at position number 3. And that's because any of their horror models can use this ability. You can't ever kill them all, so they're always going to have a psychic ability. They have the Icon, which can boost them up to 2, and also they're cheaper troops at a base of 12, which makes them a lot more readily accessible if you're going to take them in your kill team. So that's why I just nudge them slightly above the Servants of the Abyss, and they don't get those crazy double rolls on perils. Now our main 2. Coming in at number 2 is what I'm going to say is the Thousand Sons. They have a lot of abilities which are really good, but I think the Grey Knights just pip them a little bit, and here's why. So I mean, you know, the Thousand Sons themselves have access to 2 models, and they're restricted to only those same 2 models. So that's really the main limiting factor here. They do have a better range of their Psybolts than the Grey Knights do, but the Grey Knights are able to use any model, which makes them heaps stronger. They get this Icon of Flame, so there's a potential again of an extra Psybolt ability, which is good, and they have 2 unique tactics. So Thousand Sons, really strong psychic team. That leads us to our first position, number 1, which is the Grey Knights, and this one's going to be hard to dispute, I think. It's because all models in this kill team can use psychic abilities. They can, you know, manifest up to 2. They get that bonus 2 manifested of 4+ on their dice rolls. Makes them super awesome. Their range is a little bit less, but they've got 3 unique tactics which, you know, can make all of this better, and they can also do D3 mortal wounds to any demon model. So there's my top 6. Well, there are only really 6, and 4 of them only really count, but let me know below if you've got them ranked any differently. I mean, it's you know, they're pretty close, but I think the Grey Knights is a clear winner. Positions 2 and 3 could really be disputed, I guess. In some cases, the Demons might be a better option. I mean, they are a lot cheaper, and you've got so many of them, but I just thought with those extra tactics and the little bits and pieces, the range rules that the Thousand Sons have, that they just slightly pipped them there on that position. But anyway, you let me know what you've got. So in conclusion, that's psychic abilities within Kill Team. I hope you've got a better understanding of how to use them. I hope I've explained it to you well enough. There's a lot of information there to take on, but you just dissect it. It's quite simple. Like when you go through the processes, a lot of it won't actually apply to you. Like when you're trying to manifest a psychic ability, not everyone's going to be able to deny the witch, for example. Not everyone's going to have some saving throw against it. So a lot of the times it's as simple as just manifesting the power, doing the mortal wound. But beyond that, you can see that there's some unique teams that we've discussed, and these are really awesome in Kill Team. Can really, you know, boost your gaming experience, boost your chances of winning. You know, a lot of people don't realize this, but the easiest way to wound a model within Kill Team, other than like some crazy tactic, is a psybolt. I mean, all you could do is succeed and bang. You know what I mean? You're either going to flesh wound them or kill them if it's a 1 wound model. So the more of these psybolts that you can get at your disposal, the more wounds and deaths you're going to deliver for free basically on the enemy, and this happens before the shooting phase. It happens before the fight phase, so you're going to get to attack even if you were charged and your Psyker was charged. You're going to get a chance to kill that charging model before it even gets to attack you, and that's something to keep in mind. So psychic powers within Kill Team itself are really powerful. The Grey Knights team is it started a little weak with the core. With elites, it got a lot more powerful. It's got some more new tactics. It's really sitting at a good, strong place at the moment, and so are some of the other teams too. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. As usual, please like and subscribe to our work. We thank you for your time for listening to this episode. If you'd like to see more content, please comment below. Tell us what you liked about it. Tell us, some of the things, maybe I've missed something. There's a lot of information I've had to dissect during this process to create this episode. So thank you again for listening to it. If you, consider becoming a Patreon to WarHQ, I know we're a new channel, but, with support from you guys, we can produce more of this kind of content for you. Again, this is WarHQ, and we're signing out.